Here are the top stories this hour. At least 8 fighters killed after Russian airstrikes in Syria. North Korea leader observed cruise missile launch. Plus, Tropical Storm Hillary makes landfall in Mexico, causing flash floods in California. Welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I'm Joy Adesuwa Iromoseli. At least 8 fighters have been killed in Russian airstrikes early on Monday, targeting a rebel base in Syria's northwest. Rami Abdel Rahman, who heads the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, stated that Russian warplanes carried out airstrikes on the western outskirts of Idlib city, targeting a military base belonging to Hayat al-Sham, killing at least 8 fighters. The Britain-based Monitor, which relies on a wide network of sources inside Syria, stated that several other fighters were wounded in the strikes, with some in critical condition. Militant group HTS, led by Syria's former al-Qaeda affiliate, controls swathes of Idlib province, parts of which form the last bastion of armed opposition to President Bashar al-Assad's rule. HTC also controls parts of the adjacent Latakia, Hama, and Aleppo provinces. Reporters at the site disclosed that the militant group condoned off the area after the strikes, which came shortly after midnight. Russia has repeatedly struck the Idlib stronghold over the years. Syria's civil war broke out in 2011 after the government's repression of peaceful demonstration escalated into a deadly conflict that pulled in foreign powers and global militants. Moscow is a major ally of Damascus, and its intervention in Syria since 2015 helped to turn the tide in the regime's favor. Russia stated that it has foiled attacks by 2 Ukrainian drones in the Moscow region on Monday, but nearly 50 plane fights in and out of the capital were disrupted. Russia's defense ministry disclosed that it jammed a Ukrainian drone in the Rossky district west of the capital and later destroyed another one in the Istrinsky district nearby. Russian Aviation Authority Rosaviasia stated that arrivals and departures from Moscow's 4 main airports, Vnukovo, Demodenovo, Shrenskovo, and Zhukovsky, were restricted, disrupting 45 passenger planes and 2 cargo planes. Russian officials have repeatedly cautioned that military drones flying over Moscow, which along with its surrounding region has a population of nearly 22 million people and could cause a major disaster. Drone airstrikes deep inside Russia have increased since 2 drones were destroyed over the Kremlin in early May. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has observed the test firing of strategic cruise missiles. The test came as the US and South Korean militaries kicked off major annual drills, which the North views as an invasion rehearsal. The North's report on missile test came 3 days after the leaders of the US, South Korea, and Japan held their first standalone trilateral summit and agreed to increase their cooperation on the ballistic missile defenses to counter North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. During an inspection of a Navy flotilla on an unspecified date, Mr. Kim boarded a patrol ship to review its weapons and preparations for combat. A state media photo showed him watching a soaring missile from the patrol ship from another place, not on the vessel. State news stated that the missile hit designated targets without any error, demonstrating the ship's readiness and attack capability. Mr. Kim disclosed that he would bolster efforts to build powerful warships and modernize shipboard and underwater weapons system for the North Navy. Meanwhile, Beijing has approved North Korea's state carrier Air Koryo to resume flights to China. The ministry did not provide more details such as the resumption date or what the flight's weekly frequency may be. It referred further questions to China's aviation regulator, which was not immediately available to provide comments. Air Koryo's Shanghai office did not respond to requests for comments. The approval comes after South Korea's Yonhap news agency stated that the North Korean-China border is gradually reopening, with train services increasing. China is North Korea's biggest trade partner and neighbor. Last month, a Chinese delegation visited Pyongyang to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the end of the Korean War, the first to visit the reclusive state since the pandemic. Flights between the two countries were suspended in early 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic as both shut down borders to other countries. Previously, Air Koryo and Chinese state airline Air China flew routes between the two countries. Tropical storm Hillary made landfall along Mexico's Baja California coast on Sunday as concerns mounted over the storm causing what could be deadly flash flooding in the border city of Tijuana, South California, and places as far north as Idaho that rarely get such heavy rains. Hillary hit the coast in a sparsely populated area about 250 kilometers south of Ensenada. The storm has already caused flooding in places across Mexico's arid peninsula and threatens to unleash torrential rains on mudslide-prone Tijuana, where many improvised houses cling to steep hillsides just south of the U.S. border. Forecasters warned the storm could cause extreme flooding, mudslides, and even tornadoes. Parts of the U.S. Southwest could be hit with once-in-a-century rains, and there is a good chance Hillary could break all-time records as the wettest known tropical cyclone to douse Nevada, Oregon, and Idaho. The National Hurricane Center reported that as of Sunday morning, Hillary was located about 340 kilometers southeast of San Diego. Hillary had maximum sustained winds of 100 kilometers per hour and was moving northwest at 41 kilometers per hour. The Mexican cities of Ensenada and Tijuana, directly in the storm's path, closed all beaches and opened a half-dozen shelters at sports complexes and government offices. Meanwhile, Hawaii Democratic governor suggested on Sunday that climate change amplified the failures of officials to act properly on the Maui wildfires. During an interview, Judge Green discussed what some people have considered critical mistakes by both local officials and private companies regarding the disaster. Though Green acknowledged failures and decisions made in the moment by these actors, he also remarked that these mistakes were aggravated by climate change. He added that there is always going to be incredible things that people do to save lives from the firefighters, from the citizens, and there are always decisions made that aren't perfect in the moment. But he said that there is no excuse ever to be made, but there are finite resources sometimes in the moment. The West Maui Land Company, which manages several agricultural and residential subdivisions along with water jurisdictions, alleged on Friday that it requested to divert water to fight the wildfires on the day they began, but they were delayed several hours. According to the company, the Commission on Water Resource Management had to clear the decision with local farmers before acting. Now, Greek firefighters backed by water-bombing planes have battled a fresh blaze on Monday and warned of an extreme risk of fires in the region around the capital, Athens. Rescue services stated that a large wildfire broke out in the central region of Boeotia, about 100 kilometers north of Athens. People on a beach and in two communities nearby where the fire started on Monday were told to evacuate. Around 56 firefighters, assisted by 4 water-dropping aircrafts, were battling the flames, an official from the fire service told the media. Civil protection authorities warned of an extreme fire risk in the region around Athens and other parts of southern Greece. Fires also continued to burn out of control for a third day in northeastern Greece near the port city of Alexandroupolis. Firefighting crew are deployed on several fronts and are trying to halt the fire's progression towards the Dadia National Park, which suffered substantial damage from wildfires last year. More than 200 firefighters, with the help of aircraft, volunteers and police, were battling the blaze. Meanwhile, Canada will deploy the military to tackle fast-spreading wildfires in British Columbia as the western province deals with nearly 400 fires that have led to evacuation orders for more than 35,000 people. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau disclosed this on Sunday. British Columbia declared a state of emergency on Friday and imposed a ban on non-essential travel to free up accommodation for evacuees and firefighters, and urged drone operators and other capturing images of the fires to stay clear of rescue workers. Trudeau stated in a post on X that the federal government will offer support from the Canadian military to help with evacuations, staging and other logistical tasks in response to a request from the British Columbian government. Canada is grappling with its worst wildfire season on record, with more than 200 fires burning in the nearby province of Northwest Territories. In some cities, the British Columbia, the Air Quality Index, which measures major pollutants, including particulate matter produced by fire, was above 350, a hazardous level. West Kelowna Fire Chief Jason Brolund stated that he saw some hope after the battling epic fires for the past 4 days. It disclosed that conditions have improved, helping firefighters to put boots on the ground and dump water on flames that threatened the town of 150,000. The Japanese government will make a decision on Tuesday about the release of treated water from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant into the sea. Japan Prime Minister Fumio Kishida stated on Sunday during a visit to the nuclear power plant, where 3 reactors went into meltdown in 2011, that no date had been set. Around 1.34 million tons of water, equivalent to more than 500 Olympic swimming pools, have accumulated since the Fukushima plant was knocked out by an earthquake and tsunami that killed 18,000 people in 2011. Plant operator TEPCO says that with around 1,000 steel tanks now full of water, space has run out and that it wants to gradually start discharging the water into Pacific Ocean via an underwater pipe. TEPCO says that dangerous radioactive elements have been filtered out and that the water it plans to release is safe. a view backed by the UN Atomic Agency. China, Japan's biggest market for seafood, has reacted angrily to the planned move banning food shipments from 10 Japanese prefectures and imposing radiation checks on imports from elsewhere. Finally, Russia and China will look to gain more political and economic ground in the developing world at a summit in South Africa this week, when an expected joint dose of anti-West grumbling from them may take on a sharper edge with a former move to bring Saudi Arabia closer. Leaders from the BRICS economic bloc of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa will hold 3 days of meetings in Johannesburg's financial district of Sandton, with Chinese Premier Xi Jinping's attendance underlining the diplomatic capital his country has invested in the bloc over the last decade and a bit as an avenue for its ambition. Russian President Vladimir Putin will appear on a video link after his travel to South Africa was complicated by an international criminal court arrest warrant against him over the war in Ukraine. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa will be at the summit alongside Xi. The main summit on Wednesday and the sideline meetings on Tuesday and Thursday are expected to produce general calls for more cooperation among countries in the global south amid the rising discontent over perceived Western dominance of global institutions. That's a sentiment that Russia and China are more than happy to lean on. Leaders or representatives of dozens more developing countries are set to attend the sideline meetings in Africa's wealthiest city to give Xi and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who will represent Putin in South Africa, a sizable audience. One specific policy point with more direct implications will be discussed and possibly decided on: the proposed expansion of the BRICS bloc, which was formed in 2009 by the emerging market countries of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and added South Africa the following year. And that's it on World News on VOP TV. We would like you to subscribe and engage us on YouTube. It is Voice of the People TV, and on other social media channels at VOP TV Live. VOP Business comes up shortly. Many thanks for watching. I'm Joy Adesowa Iromoseli.